Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Jackson. I'm from the Detroit Curling Club, and I'm chair of the board of the United States Curling Association. I officially call the members' meeting to order. The first item of business is the appointment of parliamentarian. I'm going to appoint Todd Ellis to be the parliamentarian today. Todd, do you want to give us just a very quick welcome and tell everybody who you are?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. My name is Todd Ellis. I am a registered parliamentarian out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. I was curling out of Kalamazoo, started in 2016, but I've had to give it up. I am still, however, a level 2 official because I am a nerd about rules, which is also why I'm a parliamentarian. And my role here tonight is to help answer any questions about meeting rules, but most importantly, to help the chair run a successful and smooth meeting.
Thank you for being with us today. The next is the certification of votes. Our new treasurer, Alexis, are you on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll go into it. So I certified the votes for each member club, regional association, and at-large club by reviewing records and information provided to me by the USCA staff, including paid invoices that detail the number of members for each club. The number of members on each paid invoice included members for whom clubs paid the dues, as well as members who paid their dues directly to the USCA. For members to be included in the certified vote count, invoices had to be paid by January 31st, 2023. A 2-week grace period was given ending February 14th to accommodate for mailing and processing time. Actual eligible votes to be cast at tonight's meeting were based on member club, regional association, and at-large clubs' notification that they would be voting tonight. And Dick Dawson, USCA Secretary, managed the vote allocation based on those notifications. The final athlete vote total was based on guidance provided by the US OPC, who indicated that the athlete vote should be calculated as 1/3 of the total vote. I'd like to offer my thanks and gratitude to the USCA staff for their cooperation and assistance in the vote certification process. It was truly a team effort. Thank you.
Alexis, do you want to very quickly introduce yourself and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. My name is Alexis Boconfuso, and I curl out of Nutmeg Curling Club. I just rolled off as the president. I did a 2-year stint as the president there, and a level 2 certified instructor, and I love curling.
Well, welcome, and thank you for your volunteering. The next is the roll call, and I'll call on Dick Dawson, the secretary, to take care of that.
Sure.
And please introduce yourself.
My name is Dick Dawson. I'm the secretary of USA Curling. My camera on so you can see me there. And I will do this in alphabetical order. If you could affirm that you are available. So, the Alaska region, Bill Greider.
I'm here.
Solon Boomer Jenks, Albany.
I am
Not
here.
here. Here? Please check the voting system and confirm. From Ardsley, Derek Kaiser. Larry Bottomley from the Atlanta Curling Club.
Here.
Shelley Dropkin, Broomstone.
I am here.
Bill Bruce, Cape Cod. He's in the room. Alex Shumiko from Canadian Club.
I'm here.
Katrina Friedman from Charleston.
I am here.
Neil Pfeiffer, Charlotte. Come back to Neil. Mary Jane Walsh from Collegiate.
Here.
Brad Whitlock, Curl Vegas.
Present.
Mark Tolstad, Dakota region, here in the room. GLCA's Michael Graves. From the Granite Curling Club, Jessica Schultz.
Here.
Long Island, John
In the house.
Paxione. Sorry, John.
Close. Passione is good. And
Fair enough. Nick Myers from MACA.
Present.
Jonathan Lee is in the room. Minnesota region, Lisa Rudolph, also in the room. MOPAC region, Sonia Montero.
Present.
Midwest region, Carrie Dixon.
Yes, I'm here.
Vanessa Williams from Nashville.
Present.
Mike DiPolo from Nutmeg.
Present.
Kenton Morrill from Palmetto.
Present.
Steve Buffington from Pittsburgh.
present.
Nicole Prohaska from Plainfield.
Present.
Pacific Northwest region, Gina Trillo.
Here.
Matthew Moore from Pacific Northwest.
Here.
Andy Carl from Rock Creek.
I am here.
Sam Curtis from Rocket City. Dion Ware from Schenectady.
Present.
Jen Shumiko from TCC.
Present.
Nick Miles from Triangle. Katie Feldman from Wine Country.
Present.
Dan Lilla from Wisconsin region.
I am here.
And the athletes, Sam Gailey,
Present.
Dwayne Rutan,
Here.
Christine McMakin.
Present.
The roll, Mr. Chair.
So I want to welcome everyone to the 2023 USA Curling Members Meeting, part of this weekend's Members Assembly. We really thank you for attending and for the commitment to the sport that we all love. We look forward to a day of robust programming and valuable conversations tomorrow during Members Assembly. But first, I want to provide clarity for everyone about tonight's agenda. We're going to run through an order of events and cover a few possible questions in advance. When we do need a roll call vote, we'll be using an electronic roll call. You will have received an email ahead of time giving you access, and that was what most of you have checked into. So you can log into that system, and once you have your attendance posted, then we'll know that you're here, and your votes and whatever weight those votes carry will be calculated. This will save us considerable time than having to go through the verbal roll call that we've had previously. So now let's discuss who's voting tonight. The voters under existing bylaws are regional curling associations who are currently members of USA Curling, represented by their designees. There are 9 regional associations eligible to vote, and they'll be casting votes corresponding to the votes for their region. There are also clubs who, whether they're at large or have elected to take their votes out of their region, who will be voting on behalf of themselves. Also voting tonight are athletes. Those representatives are designated by the peer-elected Athletes Advisory Council. Under federal law, specifically the Ted Stevens Olympic and Amateur Sports Act, amended in 2020 by the Empowering Olympic, Paralympic, and Amateur Athletes Act, athletes in our sport must receive a vote equal to 33% of the total vote of any meeting that USA Curling has. So that is 33% of the board spots or 33% of the votes at a members' assembly like we're having today. What are you voting on tonight? The vote is a yes or no vote on changing to ratifying a change from our current bylaws to the proposed new bylaws that were approved by the Board of Directors on September 11th and released to all of you on September 12th. These new bylaw changes reflect our membership model and align closely with the recommendations from the Governance 4.0 Ad Hoc Committee that convened throughout the early months of 2023. Speaking broadly, These bylaws will change the membership structure of USA Curling, making individuals the members of the organizations, with member clubs able to carry the votes of members if they desire. It eliminates the compliance requirements of regional associations that existed in the previous bylaws, but continue to populate the board with representatives of those regional associations. If you've not seen the proposed new bylaws, you've been able to access them on our website as we posted them there early last month. Once the vote is called, Secretary of USA Curling Dick Dawson will begin the tally using the automated system if we do need to use a roll call vote. When all the votes are in, he will double check the vote count and will announce the results and post them for everyone to see. While people are logging in, we can continue with the other agenda items for tonight. And that is, we'll start with the determination of quorum. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum. We have 30,905 members of United States Curling, and the athletes portion represented at this meeting. We are at 100%.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the minutes. The minutes of the 2022 Members Assembly were distributed electronically. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no further corrections, I move that the minutes be approved as distributed and just call for a voice vote. Is there a second? Seconded by Jonathan from ACA. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of USA Curling member clubs. Those clubs for full membership are the Fergus Falls Area Curling, the Mower County Curling Club, the North Star Curling Club, the Rhinelander Curling Club, and the Talkeetna Curling Club. Talkeetna Curling Club, excuse me, in Alaska. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve en masse the 5 clubs to full membership within the United States Curling Association. Is there such a motion?
Dion Moore from Schenectady. I make that motion.
We're second with Lisa in the. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. We heard the motion from Schenectady. And then
I
a second
second the
from
motion, Derek Kaiser, Ardsley Curling Club.
Lisa. You'll have to second another motion. Seconded by Hardsley. All those in favor of approving those member clubs say aye.
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 Any opposition say nay. Congratulations to each of those clubs and welcome to USA Curling. Next is the approval of incoming directors. There are 2 directors up for nomination by the Nominating Governance Committee, which was forwarded on to them by their respective regional associations. There are Phil Shyrock from the Pacific Northwest and Brian Koop of Wisconsin. Phil is representing Pacific Northwest, Mopac, and Alaska, but he's from Pacific Northwest. Is there a motion to approve the nominations of these 2 directors to the United States Curling Association Board?
I would move to do so, Dan Lillis, Wisconsin.
Is there a second? Thank you, Dan.
It's Bill Greider. I'll second.
Seconded by Bill Grutter. All those in favor of approving these directors to the United States Curling Association Board, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Well, Phil and Brian, I'm really excited to work with you. Welcome to the board. Next, we'll be doing a discussion of the bylaw amendments. Is Mike going to start with, or are you going to start with that, Mike? Okay. Mike, do you want to start off?
I thought it was going to be doing governance, but Dean, why don't you start? Because I'm not sure what you want to cover.
All right. So Dean, CEO of United States Curling Association, here you go.
Thanks, Brett. So I think for anybody who's on and hasn't needs some familiarity, I'd refer to the substantive changes to the bylaws on our website. Really, the key articles that changed, article number 5, where we define categories of membership. Previously, members of the USA Curling were the regions, the regional curling associations. Under the new bylaws, the regions, the members of USA Curling will be individual members and member clubs, with member clubs able to carry the votes of the USA Curling members that they represent. So the reason for that change, under the proposed new membership model, no longer we have done away with enforcing compliance among member clubs by regions. So the members are now indeed the individuals and the member clubs. So the 95% compliance that previously was required of regional associations to be members and hold their board seats has ended. What I will say too, though, is that with that, we have recognized regional associations who retain their existing representation on the board of directors in the same proportions that they do under the existing bylaws. Termination of membership, that's article section 5.3. Previously, there were penalties for a member club that left USA Curling and then wanted to return. That has ended as well. So, and I think that's summed up best by at a recent board meeting when we said rather than talk about how much it will cost a club to come back in, let's ask them why they left. So I think that's a change in culture, and it reflects the fact that we're committed to earning members every year, and not imposing a financial penalty when some leave and come back. Obviously, we don't want clubs to leave, but it's not in our bylaws to have a penalty when you return. Article 6.1, regional associations, that's under definitions. The regional associations are defined in this document in the preface as under definitions. The new bylaws state regional associations support the efforts and mission of USA Curling. Representatives of recognized regional associations have 6 seats on the USA Curling Board of Directors in accordance with Section 7.5. Section 6.2 identifies the recognized regional associations currently recognized by USA Curling. As of this moment, we have 9: Alaska Curling Association, Dakota Territory, Great Lakes, Mid-America, Midwest, Mountain Pacific, Minnesota Curling Association, Pacific Northwest Curling Association, and the Wisconsin State Curling Association. We also have a new process for the recognition of a new recognized regional association, and that is in Section 6.3. We also rewrote recognized regional association on the USA Curling Board of Directors. What's important to note is that, again, that structure and the amount of representation does not change for regional associations. So the sum total of USA Curling individual members within each recognized regional association then be ranked based on sum totals for each recognized regional association. Each of the top 3 recognized regional associations in the ranking will be entitled to 1 director seat on the board of directors. The remaining recognized regional associations will be formed into 3 groups to create similar representation. It's very similar to what we have now. It's just that under the proposed new membership model, regional associations are no longer the actual members of USA Curling. It was rewritten to ensure that regional associations are represented on our board, and each recognized regional association will be allocated director representation. Under the existing bylaws, the Grand National Curling Association was a regional association member until recently, but it is hoped, and it's important to note here that it's hoped that the GNCC will opt to return to USA Curling and be added as a USA Curling recognized regional association. Section 7.5, pardon me. Sorry, is there a hand up? Why don't we let that question come forward? What's the question?
Yes, Dean, it's Matt Moore from Pacific Northwest.
Hey there, Matt.
So shouldn't we not include the regional associations in our bylaws? Otherwise, we have to amend our bylaws anytime there's an addition or subtraction of a region.
Well, I don't know why I think we want to recognize the ones for board seat allocation. I'm not exactly sure how we would have no recognized regional associations. We will have to amend bylaws to add regions, but that shouldn't be an especially difficult process.
I'm sorry, Matt, this is Mike Shaluvin. There's also a process for recognizing new recognized regional associations, so it's built into the bylaws. I'm not sure you would need to change the bylaws, although like Dean just said, it would be easy enough to do that.
Mike's point is there is a process to bring regions in, and whether that counts as an actual bylaw amendment, I guess would be a question, Todd. All right. I'll say, look, I don't think that should be a barrier, for instance, for the GNCC's return. It won't be. But I don't know how we would not recognize regional associations. Yep. Yeah, that's Phil Bruce from Cape Cod, and I think that's Todd's nodding his head here. Again, I don't think it's a big change to make, and hopefully we're not adding and removing regions a lot. So I don't see it as being a big issue. So Phil's comment, for people who couldn't hear, was he was suggesting that would require a bylaw amendment, even though we have a process in the bylaws to bring a new region in.
Everyone's looking at me, so I will respond. One way to get around this might be if section 6.2 is put into the policies and procedures, then it can be amended by the board with a 2/3 vote and not have to go through this whole process. And it still is binding insofar as, it's one of our governing documents. It's just easier to amend, and it would not change substantively anything else in this amendment.
Are there any other questions on that subject? There are. Oh, go ahead. Shelley Dropkin.
Hi there. Pardon for my cold here, but I just want to check in. I appreciate all the work that's been done in preparation for our meeting today. A question around the regional association recognition. Where do the at-large, where does the at-large group of clubs kind of fit into this group? And I realize we're in a transition and we're kind of working toward, we're working through this process, but where do the at-large clubs fit in this?
Well, currently, at-large clubs are represented by, your director is Roger Smith.
Yeah.
So that continues for the moment. But, you know, I think the end goal here is to have all clubs in a recognized regional association and not as at-large members.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, we have used at-large as, let's be honest, as a bit of a stopgap here.
Understood. Understood. I'm just wondering if, but they're nowhere recognized in this group of 9 associations, but that is a group unto itself. So I'm just wondering, and I realize again we're in a transition period, but why they aren't somewhere acknowledged in this. And again, we're hoping to get through this, but I'm just wondering why they're not somewhere here.
Shelley, it's Michael Shalhoub. I just want to make sure that I understand your question. When you say not, you're talking about the current at-large clubs?
Correct.
Well, under the new structure, assuming that it's approved, the curling clubs are the voting members, and that's where they are. So
Understood, but I guess my thought was that the at-large members kind of ended up being a group unto themselves, and maybe that was a misunderstanding on my part. But that's just something I just want to get clarified.
I mean, I didn't look at what exactly is going to happen today, but I would think that the at-large clubs will be voting their members' votes at this assembly today.
Okay.
Unless I'm wrong about that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Mike DiPolo, you have a question? Mike, you need to unmute, sir.
Thank you. I think I might be able to address Shelley's question, but I also have one of my own. As far as the at-large clubs under section 5.1 sub A sub II, all at-large clubs are still members of the USA Curling as of the effective date of the bylaws, and so long as they are current in payment of dues. So that's where we as at-large clubs fit in. My question is with regard to subs I, which deals with, it says all regional curling associations which are members of USA Curling as of the effective date of the bylaws shall have membership under sub A.
Mike, so I can follow along with you. This is Mike Shalhoub again. Can you tell me what section you're looking at?
I'm looking at section 5.1 sub A. And then I'm specifically looking at sub I and sub II.
Right.
So the at-large clubs fall in under sub II. But
right.
Sub I still reads that regional curling associations, which are members of USA Curling, are actually still members of USA Curling, though you will not be enforcing the previous dues enforcement requirement.
I must be looking at a different version than you. I'm looking at the version that was circulated for this meeting.
Okay.
It says USA Curling shall have dues paying membership as follows, and then it refers you to definitions. I is individual members, II is member clubs, period.
Okay, I've got the older version then. Okay. I'm sorry. I must have downloaded the wrong one.
There were so many floating around, believe me.
Yeah, and I must have grabbed the wrong link. But be that as it may, at-large clubs are still members under one of those provisions, but that answers Shelley's question. Right. So my question as to the association then is moot. If that's been amended. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Gina, I believe you have a question.
Yeah, as a follow-up to this, I was just looking a little bit further down in the changes, and under section 7.5, it does say the board of directors shall consist of 6 representatives of the recognized regional associations as set forth in section 6.4. If the at-large clubs or, region essentially is not listed there, does that indicate that they would not have representation on the board? as written in the bylaws?
So the board set aside the sixth spot and we had had dialogue with the at-large clubs to assume that spot earlier this year. The at-large clubs decided to not take that seat currently in the hopes that the GNCC would rejoin the United States Curling Association and that they would take that seat back. And so we did go through a process. We allocated the board seat to the at-large clubs. And then, as I said, no one wanted to take us up on it. They wanted to wait and see how all of this shook out. And hopefully the GNCC will come back and they'll get the board spot that presumably those at-large clubs who are members of the GNCC would be represented through that. Does that make sense, Gina?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the way that the new bylaws are written, it doesn't preclude at-large clubs from having representation. And
no, it certainly does not.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or discussion? So Dean's going to go through a few more of the highlights.
So we've gotten through the regional election of regional association directors. If we move to section Article 10, section 10.1 is existing. And the section 10.1 under purpose, we now have an annual members assembly at which the members of USA Curling and other curling constituencies shall gather. At this annual members meeting, through its chair, the board of directors, whose chair or designee shall provide a report on the USA Curling activities of the board of directors, state of affairs of USA Curling, etc. The reason this was changed was to more clearly define the purpose of the members meeting and the members assembly. The language was revised really for clarity. While both will still happen within the same weekend time frame, we wanted to separate this, the members meeting that's used for voting purposes, and the members assembly, which is focused on programming to benefit the curling community. So relatively minor semantics name change, but should add some clarity. Section 10.4 existing, the members vote. The regional associations, at-large clubs, and member clubs, which are members of USA Curling, shall in good standing be entitled to vote at the meeting of the members assembly in accordance with USA Curling policy. That changes in the new section 10.4 to reflect the new membership, the way the membership works. It's revised partly for clarity. The new version provides more insight into the athlete vote and reflects the change in the proposed new membership model that makes individual members and their member clubs the voters at the members meeting versus the regions as members. And that's the end of the substantive changes to the bylaws. So we'll see if there are any other hands up. It looks like Gina, is your hand up again, or is that still up?
It is. Sorry,
Great.
I did have one other small note back in section 7.
Sure.
Under 7. I believe it was 7.6 sub A, it outlines that all regional association director nominations must be submitted at least 60 days in advance of the annual members assembly. I noticed that I think the notification requirement for the members assembly is defined in the policies, not the bylaws, and it's currently at 30 days. So I'm wondering if this one should probably not be greater than the members assembly notice requirement, but also should be defined in the policies, not the bylaws.
Yeah, and there's the new policies and procedures that the board's reviewing and will approve or revise on Sunday. So they will line up.
Great.
It's a good catch. The policies and procedures will line up.
And Gina, the reason for the change to 60 days is to allow the nominating and governance committee to vet the candidates, make sure they meet the criteria, and then have time 30 days ahead of the members assembly to notify the membership of who is nominated for the positions. So the 60 days is the regional associations submitting the nominations to the nominating governance committee, giving the nominating governance committee 30 days to do their due diligence, and then that gives them gives all of us 30 days to review the candidates as they're presented to the members meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And to be clear, I don't have an issue with the 60 days. I mostly, one, want to make sure that the policy is that we'll get a date for the members assembly more than 60 days ahead, so we can comply with that. And also just, I don't think that number should be in the bylaws themselves. If we put it in the policy with the other ones, it's a lot easier to make changes as needed. Or that, or all of the notification requirements should be, like, they should be in one place or the other. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I guess, Mike, I'll throw that to you. I guess the point is, do we put those sort of timelines in the bylaws or reserve them for policies and procedures? And Gina, just so you know, most of this stems from the desire at USA Curling to get ahead of a lot of things, including this, further in advance. But I'll leave it to Todd or Mike maybe to discuss whether that's appropriate in the bylaws or should strictly be in policies and procedures.
Speaking for Mike, I don't know that it makes that much difference. I don't have a strong opinion about that, Dean.
Okay.
Generally, bylaws outrank policies and procedures. So if you want to make it firm that 60 days is the number and it's very difficult to change it, you put it in the bylaws. If you think that that's a number that might want to move around, you put it in your policies and procedures so that it's more accessible and the board can make those changes without having to come back to the members assembly. For something like this, if you really want to enfranchise the idea that everyone gets due notice, the bylaws is a perfectly good place to put it. But if you think it's going to change, then you leave it out and deal with it in policies later.
Thanks, Todd. I think Mike or Matt has his hand up.
Yeah, Dean. My question is followed up with this 60 days piece. It's easy for regions where there's only one region representing the director, or sorry, the director is only represented by one region. But for those with multiple regions, it is very challenging. So is USA Curling intending to expedite their information to those regions so that they can allocate them? Is that somewhere in at least a policy and procedure?
I'll let Brett handle that, but I think in general, yeah, we are going to move with more alacrity. Let's put it that way, but I'll let Brett handle that.
I don't have the bylaws in front of me. They're just right over there. I believe there is a provision in the bylaws that the allocations take place in February. And so that would give, if we publish those allocations that early, that should give regions plenty of time to be able to nominate someone 60 days ahead of the members assembly. Now, as a board on Sunday, we're also going to be talking about changing the dates of the members assembly and putting it in a place that is a lot easier for all of us to participate in, especially the athletes. So that'll be a discussion we'll have on Sunday. And when we know and have made decisions about what we think the members assembly should be, then we will definitely be communicating that to the membership, because I agree, we don't give enough notice and we do need to do a better job of that.
Thank you.
I have my hand up. How do I have my hand up?
Brett has a question.
Any other questions or discussion? Go ahead. Did everyone hear Jonathan's comments?
No, Brett.
Okay. It wasn't working. What he said was that we should be spelling out 60 days in the same way that we spell out other numbers in the document, and that in the policies documents, it should reflect adequate notice to the regions to nominate people for the positions.
Just to note, I mean, this is intended to make sure we stay ahead of this and give regions every chance. We certainly want regional directors nominated in a timely way so we can move that process forward. It was 30 days before, and frankly, that just wasn't enough time all around. So I think in general, the process, will be smoother, and we'll all stay on top of it more going forward. We want good regional association directors. So that's really why this is in there.
Is there any other discussion on the bylaws? Alex, go ahead.
After reviewing just based on Gina's. Oh yeah, sorry. Hi, I'm Alex. I agree on AAC. In looking at kind of Gina's comment there on the 60 days, since that's the only portion of our notification process that has a day limit in the bylaws, I would agree with her that we should move that to policy because it's the only one that's in here versus policy, right? So then all of the timeline items are in our policies instead of mixed.
Gina, you have your hand up?
Yes. So thank you, Alex. I definitely appreciate that perspective. I also just did want to point out, so I was looking back through the policies to find where it outlines the call for nominations and the information provided to the regions for doing this process. Because again, we just went through this process with 3 regions. And in the policies, it states that the nominating governance committee shall issue a call for nominations to the member regional associations by March 1st of the election year. And I do want to note that that did not happen this year. And I know there's been a lot of changes and we're working to do better. And I don't want to belabor that point too much, but mostly my concern is if we keep that 60-day limit in the bylaws, and if the policy is not followed, then are we still expected to follow the bylaws? So yeah, another point, I guess, in favor of moving those limits into one place and also just collectively working together to get that information out so that we can conduct these processes. Because working across 3 regions, it definitely took a long time, several months to get the consensus on nominations.
Understand, and we hear you. Matt.
Yeah, we haven't had much discussion about the actual membership model. And I'd like to just voice a couple of, I'm going to use the word concerns. My 2 concerns are the following. One, although it's been noted that this membership model is expected to be financially neutral, I question that statement. It does not appear that it would be net neutral to me. And I believe that's also the opinion of the Pacific Northwest region. The second thing is we're implementing this at a time when it's going to be challenging. And so I know that Dean and USA Curling has spent a lot of time to prepare for this and have everything ready to go, basically, assuming this passes later today. But it's still going to be a mess for clubs and regions. Every region probably needs to amend their bylaws as a result. And every club may have a mess on their hands when it comes to membership dues. And I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. Thanks.
Hey, Matt, thanks for raising those concerns. First, I'll tackle the revenue side of the picture. Just so you know, in our budget for this year, we are been very conservative with what sort of revenue the new model would generate. Now, I would suggest that in our outreach that we've done to clubs so far this year and to members, I'm feeling pretty bullish on what sort of revenue we'll generate. But we budgeted for, quite frankly, we budgeted for $200,000 less than we generated from membership revenue last year. So to figure out what we could operate on. So on the revenue side, sure, some concerns. In terms of implementing this, we are ready to flip the switch on Sport 80, USA Curling Sport 8, My USA Curling tomorrow. That said, most clubs can continue to collect their membership the same way they always have. And I believe what most clubs will do is collect the basic membership and allow their members to upgrade to another level of membership through My USA Curling. Some clubs indeed might offer all levels, but for example, many clubs expressed to us a desire to continue to collect membership dues the same way, and they certainly can. In fact, we've incentivized them to collect membership dues the same way, collect membership dues, submit the member club fee by December 1st, and you receive that rebate of $5 per member at that time. So clubs really don't have to fundamentally change how they collect dues unless they want to, unless they decide they just want to pay member club fees and let their members sign up on their own. Obviously, as USA Curling, we're incentivizing clubs to collect dues because we know that human nature is to not go online. So we'd like to have clubs collect, and we've incentivized them to do that. Now, all that said, I would ask for a bit of grace because obviously we are implementing a new system. We have Lauren Rich in member services. The entire team at USA Curling put a lot of work into preparing for this. Fully expect to have some issues. Would be insane to sit here and say we're not going to have any issues. We will have some issues. I'm confident our team will work through them quickly with people and resolve them quickly. And in terms of the timing, sure, we could have waited another year to do this, but I honestly don't think we could have. I think the demand was out there to institute a new membership model now. And we didn't want to go through another season like we did last year. And we're confident this new model suits our membership better than the old one.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? So based on the discussion today, I'm going to ask for 2 friendly amendments. One of which is because we found a type, these were written by human beings. And as such, there are mistakes. In section 10.4, we have a reference to 10.4a. In the first line of 10.4b, we have a reference to 10.4a and 10.4b, meaning the section is referencing itself. We would like to just scratch and b so that the section does no longer reference itself. Secondly, I would like to also move that we approve Gina's suggestion and Alex to remove the 60 days. And I probably have to get a really specific amendment to you so that we can tell you exactly what we're removing so that we can put that in the policies procedure. If you give me a minute, I will work with the parliamentarian and we will figure out the exact wording of that amendment, and then we'll come right back.
Yeah, the amendment would read to amend 7.6A to strike at least 60 days in advance of the annual members assembly. If that passes, that section will then read, all regional association director nominations must be submitted to the nominating and governance committee for review by the nominating and governance committee in accordance with USA Curling policy.
Okay, so we'll take those one at a time. For my first motion, it's to strike and B from section 10.4B in the first sentence. Is there a motion to strike out and B from 10.4B? Moved here. Is there a second?
Nick Myers, second.
Thank you, Nick. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I will ask for a motion to amend 7.6A as discussed by the parliamentarian. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that
So
motion.
moved.
Was that Gina?
Yes.
Thank you, Gina. Mary Jane, do you have a comment?
This is to the parliamentarian. Should there not be discussion after a motion is moved and seconded?
There,
And then a vote to close the discussion and then a vote on the motion. The first one wasn't important enough.
But the way that the chair presented the motion was a bit of a hybrid of asking for unanimous consent, in which case if nobody had any objection, it just happens. But in this case, same thing. It's if you have an objection to just passing it unanimously, say so, and we go into formal debate.
I object to passing it unanimously.
okay. So first, I guess I do have to call for a second to the motion. To Gina's motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Dion Moore.
Okay, thank you. Is there discussion on the motion?
I guess it would behoove me to do it. I have my hand raised.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I like the logic of having everything in one place, and I think that's excellent. On the other hand, I think this is too important to punt to a policy that could be modified quickly. For example, to say, 60 days is too long, we're going to reduce it to 15. Not that you necessarily would. I think this is important enough because this gives members time to get the information they need to make informed choices when they're voting. And that's all.
Okay, so you believe it should be in the bylaws?
Correct.
Okay. Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to say that if I don't actually have an opinion whether it's in the bylaws or in the policies or procedures, but I would like them to both be in the same spot. So because of the issue of trying to get the nominations together, I think Gina spoke to it. It took us 2 full months to get a nomination complete because of the complexity of the multi-region, multi-time zone, 9 members situation. It is very difficult to do. So if we're going to leave the 60 days in the bylaws, we really need to put the March 1st also in the bylaws. from my standpoint.
Mary Jane, you have another comment?
I would agree that, in fact, the fact that Gina said that this process didn't start in the timeline as outlined in the policies would lead me to think that it should be in the bylaws. And I'd have no problem with adding it to the bylaws. Sorry to prolong the meeting.
No, you're fine. This is why we're meeting. Hold on, Jonathan. We're going to get you a microphone.
One suggestion is just keep the 60 days, but also add 120 days for call for nominations. I don't want to do this fixed March 1st because we might change the members assembly to another time of the year.
That's an excellent point. Okay, hold on. Do that one at a time. Matt.
Instead of making it from the members assembly, could we make it from some other point, like when membership dues are set or something like that? Because part of the problem is, in an ideal sense, we would have that information during the curling season. And from time to time, that has not occurred. And that makes it much harder to get nominations. So
I believe that the reason why it's set at March 1st, and I'm not disagreeing with the idea of putting it 120 days before, but the reason why it's set for March 1st for the call is because the board seat allocations take place in February. And so March 1st would be presumably as close as we can get to the board seat allocations being done. So everyone knows what regions they're aligned with. And that was the reason for putting it at March 1st, so that as soon as the board seat allocation is done, then we do a call for nominations. That did not happen this year because we had a lot of changes on the nominating governance committee. And as I said, it's our strong desire to do better in the future and make sure that that does happen. But I'm just explaining kind of why the timeline was set at March 1st was because of when the board seat allocation happens. Mary Jane.
Well, then perhaps the date that should be used is within X number of days after board seat allocations are made, the call for nominations will go out. And that should be a very short time. It should happen the next day or the day after. But, 5 days, 7 days, something along those lines.
Okay, so right now we do have a motion, and Matt, I'll recognize you in just a second. Right now we do have a motion that has been put forth and seconded. I'm first going to ask Gina her thoughts on amending her motion, or if she would prefer it be in policies and procedures. We'll go ahead and vote on that motion, and if it passes, then we'll move in that direction. If it does not pass, then we will entertain an additional motion to move forward. Matt, please go ahead.
my concern is that if we do X days from the board allocation, and the board fails to uphold their rules again, doesn't that put those regions in the same bind we were in this year or worse? And so I'm stating this not to throw you under the bus, but has the board failed to do their job in this particular case? And I think you stated it yourself. Yes, you failed to do your job in this particular case and put the Western region, at least, in a bind. So how do we confirm that you're going to do it correctly? And ensure that there's that time for us.
Well, I will definitely let you throw your slings and arrows at me, but it's actually not the board that does the call for nominations. But we'll take it because like I said, it's our responsibility to watch over the actions of all of the entities underneath USA Curling and to make sure that we're all doing our job. And we didn't follow up enough to make sure that it happened. So what would you prefer to have happen in the bylaws, Matt, to remedy the situation?
I'm not sure what the right solution is, but
okay.
I think the point that I'm trying to make here is that, we all are saying we're trying to do better, but continuing to put us in this sort of bind makes our ability to support the board by giving you nominations and giving people nominations is in jeopardy itself too. So I don't have a good answer. So I'm sorry not to pose a solution to my problem.
Mr. Myers.
Yes, I would like to say that yes, we are missing the mark. We all know that. But I do want to, I know myself as a regional representative needs to do better myself as well. So the what's happening that Mary Jane and Matt or stuff are talking for that region is also that regions need to do better with their timing. So if we're asking our national organization to stick to a timeline, then regions need to try and do better as well. What that number is, I don't have a good answer. I would like to say that it should be a realistic number. What that number is, I don't know. Is 30 days enough time? Probably not. Is 120 days too much time? Probably. I don't. That's all I had to say.
So here's a thought on this question, because Gina stated and others have stated verbally, but Gina stated in the comments that maybe 120 days would not be enough time. Approving Gina's motion would allow the board flexibility, because if we're going to be talking about when members assembly is going, or the members meeting is going to be in the future, and setting that date, we probably shouldn't have something in the bylaws that would then not allow a fair timeline to the regions to meet the 120 day or whatever the end of requirement would be. So approving Gina's motion and putting it in policies would allow everyone the flexibility to make sure that we give as much notice to the regions as possible. So that's just an observation. I'm not saying it's should be the right or wrong thing, but that doesn't make sense.
One idea is to just put a minimum amount of time notification, like 90 days, but don't put the 60 days. Remove that. Just minimum amount of time of notification. That way, the policies can work with that with the minimum, but they can go beyond the 90 days notification.
Yeah, I just think that if Gina's saying that 120 days is not enough time, then 90 days definitely won't be enough time.
But putting the minimum guarantees the minimum from the policies have to be at least 90, but they can go beyond 90.
Gina, please go ahead.
I just want to, clarify my comments maybe, because I wonder if we're conflating what we're talking about with this number. So like the number in the bylaw that I made the motion about was the number of days ahead of the members assembly that regions are required to provide the nomination, like the name of the director they are nominating. And so when I said that 120 days would not have been enough, I meant to say, if we say the call for nominations goes out 120 days ahead of the members assembly, and then we have to provide that name 60 days ahead, that gives us 60 days to do the process. This year, I think we got the numbers for our regional allocations in like June, and at which point we begun our process. And I think we got our name in just around the 45 days ahead of the members assembly that's currently defined in the policy. So that it took us June, July, and August to do the process. So just to give that idea, and this was for coordinating among 3 regions. I generally am supportive of what Brett just said to put things in the policies for now. I think there is something better we can do in the bylaws, but it might take a bit more time to figure out what exactly that should be.
Okay, I will say one more time, we do have a properly advanced motion that has been seconded. Is there any further discussion on that motion, which would essentially move it to the policies? Okay. Hearing no other discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Anyone in the room want to say aye? And you don't have to, but I mean, I'm just making sure I give you the opportunity. Any opposition say nay.
Nay.
I believe the motion carries. Okay, with those 2 changes that you have approved, I would move that I would ask for a motion to adopt all of the changes to the bylaws as proposed by the Nominating Governance Committee with the 2 amendments made here today. And that these changes would go into effect at the end of the 2023 members assembly. Or meeting. Is there such a motion?
So moved, Mary Jane from CCA.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Is there a second? Seconded by Jonathan. I'm going to give him a chance. He raised his hand really fast. Right after Mary Jane made the motion. Jonathan? From MACA. Any further discussion on the motion? All of the bylaws. We have one discussion so far, so hold on one sec.
I just have a quick comment.
Introduce yourself.
This is Phil Bruce from Cape Cod Curling Club. Just have a quick question regarding the policies. I noticed that the policies are going to need to be updated very quickly because they still reflect the bylaws. So I just wanted to bring that up. And also, are we using the electronic voting?
We have the electronic voting system. Well, let me take your first question first. Because I think that's important. The board will be meeting on Sunday, and we will be considering a number of policy changes to match the bylaws if they are amended by the members assembly today. I believe we will probably have to continue to go through them and make sure that everything matches up. But I do think that we have a set of policies, amendments to policy set for Sunday that will reflect the bylaw changes should the members approve them today. As to your second question, we are going to use in the event that there needs to be a roll call vote for something, that is when we will use the electronic voting system. And we have not yet needed to have a roll call vote. Any other discussion? Neil.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry for the Taylor Swift in the background. I'm a planetarium director and we're running a Taylor Swift show. I know. Welcome to my job.
Will it still be there at the end of December when I'm there?
Yes, anytime you want to come by and see Taylor, you can.
Outstanding.
All right, so my question is more about these bylaws changes and your policy changes. I just wanted to know if your policy changes are typically amended yearly, as in potentially bylaws changes, or you could change your policies quarterly or as you meet. And so I think that was what Mary Jane was kind of concerned about too, about whether to make a bylaw change or whether to make a policy change. Thanks.
No, certainly the board has the ability to change bylaws at will. Policies and procedures, not bylaws, policies and procedures, excuse me. It is not a practice that is done at every meeting. In fact, in the 12 months that I've been on the board, I don't think we've changed a policy once. And so, yes, there is the existential threat that they could be changed at a whim. That always exists with any policy, with any organization. I think you have to rely on the board members to collectively want to do the right thing and make sure that they're not changing things for convenience or for any ulterior motive, that they're being done to reflect a true policy change in the organization that has been identified or discussed at length, and that's why we have good people serving on boards. And thank you. And now I look forward to seeing Taylor Swift in a planetarium. Any other questions or discussion? With this vote, I will ask if there is I think, just based on the discussion, that there is likely this vote can be done through a voice vote, but I will ask, does someone want this to be done by a roll call vote? Otherwise, I will move forward with a voice vote. Nick.
Quick question. Is there anything in the policy and procedures or bylaws that if a policy and procedure is changed, that notification must go out to regions or clubs or anything? Just curious.
It's certainly not in the bylaws. I will say that. We definitely could put that type of, we could make that a policy, Nick.
Yeah, I would think that some type of, if the policies and procedures manual is changed, that there's some type of notification process to clubs, regions, something.
Yeah, they certainly would be. I would say that if the board changes a policy, it would be reflected in the minutes of the meeting. But I also think that, one of the foundations of the organization the last year is communication, and has been a hallmark of the good work that I think Dean has done. And so I think that we would also, in addition to putting it in the minutes, we would announce it and post it on the website as we have with any of the other changes we've made over the last year. So I agree with you.
Thanks.
And thank you, Shelley. She did? Okay. Okay, the comment, so what was said in the room is that MJ had said that you think that there should be a roll call vote, but when I see your comment, that doesn't reflect that.
I'm taking back my suggestion that we do a roll call vote. My comment was to Nick's suggestion that changes to policies should be pushed out to members.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought your comment was referring to. Okay. And I apologize, I didn't see your comment earlier. Oh, I do see it now. And then someone else had their hand up and then took it down quickly. No, it was someone besides MJ. Mike DiPolo, did you have your hand up?
I did. Just to amplify on the idea that policy changes should be transparent and fully enunciated to the membership, it might be wise, and I don't want to get into amending the bylaws one more time, but my experience in such things is that if we're going to require a policy change to be enunciated to the membership, it would be good to have that as a bylaw, therefore more fully enforcing the idea that the policy changes are brought out to the membership. So that the bylaw change cannot be made without a vote of the membership, and that the bylaw would actually rule the policy enunciation to the membership. I don't know if we want to get into that, but that's why I took my hand down, because I thought that it might be a little bit too cumbersome, but that's the way it really should be done.
Understood. So Mike, I'll tell you that this is my perspective. Bylaws, there's always things that we catch, right? As we went through, as we've gone through some processes this year, there's already things in the bylaws that I want to change that we would probably consider next year. Would you be okay if we consider that next year?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I'll add that to the list.
All right, thank you.
But there was, for instance, we had a conflict of interest issue that we dealt with, and I think that we need to solve that particular conflict of interest issue in the bylaws. That's my personal thing, and that's just, again, something that we do, the next time that the bylaws need to be reviewed.
Yeah, I don't think it's all that important that it be there, but that would be the way to do it. So yeah, next year's fine.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? Matt?
Just a point of from the bylaws, I believe you can call a members meeting with a 60-day notice. So I would encourage you to make those bylaw changes, get them out, and call for a separate meeting. Don't wait a year, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And just get them done, because it is important. I think your example is more important than the notification one, in my opinion. So
yeah, we have a conflict of interest policy that is that's very good. It was just one kind of particular thing. I don't want to get into the details because it involves a person, and that I'm just calling out people is not my thing. I agree. And in fact, the reason why we wanted to do the special meeting notice for the 60 days is hopefully to make the bylaw change to add the GNCC as a recognized region. That was one of the the reasons why we wanted to put that change in. So that hopefully when, if the GNCC were to agree, then we could very quickly make sure that not only they're approved by the board, but that the membership would have the opportunity to approve them as well. MJ's calling the question. Okay. Okay. Is there any further debate? Because if we call the question, we have to do a vote on that instead of just moving right to the vote. So according to our parliamentarian. Thank you, Todd. Yeah, this is faster. Okay, all those in favor of approving the bylaw changes as discussed today, including the 2 amendments that we made, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Then the bylaw changes have been made. Yeah. So the parliamentarian has asked that we consider a resolution, and because we're springing this up, if there's strong objection, we'll just move forward without it. But I want to at least give you guys an opportunity to consider it. As we've said, these are created by bylaws are created by human beings, and small mistakes happen, whether they be punctuation, cross-references, and other technical and conforming changes might need to take place after this meeting. And we don't necessarily need to bring a whole big slew of of punctuation corrections to the members meeting moving forward. So what the parliamentarian is asking the members to consider is a resolution that says the following: resolved that the secretary be authorized to correct article and section designations, punctuation, and cross-references, and to make other technical and conforming changes as may be necessary to reflect the intent of the members' meeting in connection with the adopted bylaws amendments. I will say that one more time. Resolved that the secretary be authorized to correct article and section designations, punctuation, and cross-references, and to make other technical and conforming changes as may be necessary to reflect the intent of the members' meeting in connection with the adopted bylaws amendments. Mike, you have your hand up.
Yes, but after you deal with this, it doesn't need to be dealt. I want to talk about something else briefly.
Okay.
Then I'll move that the changes be made. This is standard.
Okay, Mike is moving that we move the resolution forward.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second, Mary Jane.
Okay, no, we had a second in the room. Thank you, Mary Jane, though, for a third. We'll take it.
Good.
Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion. Oh, we do have one. Lisa's coming up.
Hi, Lisa Rudolph, Minnesota. One question on the with the word intent. Who's interpreting intent?
That would be the secretary.
Is there a way to allow for the sort of the administrative changes to take place and corrections without intent being interpreted? I can see that raising
give the
flag
microphone
at some
to you
point in the future.
to address that question.
The word intent exists in this resolution, which is, by the way, verbatim out of Robert's rules as a standard item. is because, let's say, for example, we just added a whole bunch of sections to Article 6, I think it was, right? The intent is then we're moving things around to fit around those pieces we've just added. The secretary has to be able to, discern from what we passed that, yes, these are not replacements for those items. These are to move those items. That's the kind of intent we're discussing. So there's not really anything, there's nothing that would change to what we added today. What this authorizes is primarily typographical issues and reflecting the practice that has been in place. So, if we have always interpreted a particular rule in a particular way, the secretary can make sure that it reads precisely as it's been enacted in the past. Then if we find that that policy somehow is not reflecting the will of the body, that's something we get to call up because we get to, as a body, determine what things actually mean. So it's a convoluted way of saying it's really hard to take intent out of this and not completely handicap the secretary from making the appropriate changes.
So it's not allowing for extrapolation or interpolation. It's just cleaning things up, basically.
Like what we were talking about. If we were taking out that section in with the amendment, right, taking out 60 days for that section, and let's say we had forgotten to put one of the words in the section we struck out, but based on the discussion, it's really obvious what we were trying to do. This authorizes the secretary to fix it for us.
Okay.
Great question, though. Thanks.
Mike, you made the motion. You have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. Just to address the question, the reason why we get a document such as the board put out, which has the existing bylaws and the new bylaw, but more relevant, the reason for change. The reason for change is not superfluous. And it's not just for your edification. It is also where you might also divine intent. So the reason for the change also plays into any changes that might be made for typographic purposes. If it violates the reason for change as stated, then we have a problem. If it doesn't, then it might fall into more of a typographic change. That's why this document is set out the way it is.
Thank you, Mike. Any other discussion? And Mike, I'm assuming, okay, you're good. All right, hearing no more discussion, all those in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Then the resolution has been adopted. Then I'll move on. Those are the voting items of the day. We'll move on to reports. Oh, actually, Mike Shalhoub, you wanted to bring something up.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that carefully read through those bylaws. In particular, Alex, Gina, MJ. It was a lot of effort and time to try to put them together, and to have other sets of eyes carefully read it helped a lot. And as the author of many of the typos and changes that we've talked about today, I'm glad that somebody did that and they'll get fixed. But yeah, on behalf of Dean and our secretary and the board, thank you all very much for the effort that you took to look at this stuff before the meeting today. It was very helpful. That's all, Brett. Thank you.
Well, Mike Shalhoub is the new chair of the Nominating and Governance Committee. He put a considerable amount of work in these bylaws, as did Dick Dawson and Dean Gemmell, to make all of this happen. I want to thank them for all their efforts to pull it off and get it out to the membership in time. It was a Herculean effort, and there was a lot involved. So thank you, Mike. And Mike is from the Ardsley Curling Club, since he didn't introduce himself. Okay. So reports, I'll get started, and then I'll turn it over to Dean for the report by the Chief Executive Officer. Again, I want to thank everyone for being part of the meeting today. And I hope you agree that USA Curling has come a long way in the last year. It's not just because of an effort of just a few people. Many of you across the country, some in this room, and many of you on the Zoom tonight, and others who are not with us, or I should say Teams meeting, have been part of the transformation. This is and always should be our organization. It belongs to the members, and it should be accountable to the members. I want to thank Mark Beyer and the members of the Governance 4.0 Committee. The changes that we just approved were really set in motion by the work of that committee and the direction that they gave us. But beyond that committee, I want to thank all of the volunteers and the clubs over many different projects, committees, and events that have contributed to the improvements that USA Curling has seen over this past year. I can tell you that right from the beginning of my term on the board, it started a year ago, the board has been working hard to ensure that several things happen. That the foundation of the organization is as a membership organization. That direct and open communication will happen with everything that we do. And that we work to try to have all curlers in the United States be part of one curling community. I think we've done well on the first two objectives. The success of the third objective will take time as we continue to regain the trust of curlers across the United States. I'm really proud of the effort of the board members this past year, and I want to thank them all for their dedication. We've worked well together. I've enjoyed getting to know each and every one of you and working with all of you. If you get a chance, thank a board member. They give a lot of hard work and time to make this happen. Everyone on the board is a volunteer and spends a great deal of their personal time to give back to your national organization. Just under a year ago, we appointed Dean Gemmell as interim CEO and began a nationwide search for a permanent CEO. We had some incredibly qualified candidates, but Dean stood out from the rest. I wish we would have videotaped the moment when the board told him he had earned the job. I wish you would all have seen it. It was incredibly touching. It was emotional. It was a moment that I will not forget. This job means a great deal to him. And I think all of you have seen the passion he has shown by his effort he's given the organization over the last year. From my standpoint, Dean has exceeded my expectations in every way. That's not just me blowing sunshine. It's an honest and heartfelt assessment. Dean is a delight to work with. He listens to everyone. He's been extremely patient and has a very strong mind of where he wants the organization to go. Dean's also put together a top-notch professional staff. The work product and dedication is excellent. And while USA Curling has room for much improvement, I think we've got the great people on staff to get the job done. I want to encourage all of you across the country to continue to give your feedback to USA Curling. We need your input. Please contact myself, the board, the staff. You can reach me directly at chair@usacurling.org. I want to thank all of you again, especially those who've put tremendous hours in volunteering in the many committees and projects that we've gotten, for those that have hosted events. Thank you all. Let's keep working together in the next year to have USA Curling be the organization we all want it to be. Dean, your report.
Oh, well, thanks, Brett, for your kind words. I really appreciate them. I will echo your comments about the work of this board in this last year. I have appreciated both your counsel, the counsel of this board, you, Vice Chair Colin Huffman, is not here, And I would agree that our staff is among the best the best I've ever worked with in curling, that's for sure, because it's my first time at the helm of the organization. So we have a great staff, incredibly dedicated, and everybody striving to improve. I wanted to take a look back here, and first I'll say I'm Dean Gemmel from the Plainfield Curling Club in Plainfield, South Plainfield, New Jersey. I usually used to say that in every webcast, so I should say it here as well. So proud member of the Plainfield Curling Club. I wanted to take a look back and a year in review, and we'll start with the first slide where we talk about, and I don't want to belabor this one, but this time last year we were only halfway through this meeting. So we're already moving in the right direction, I think. At the same time, I appreciate the fact that we had some healthy debate tonight. We had healthy debate from people who care about our sport. And last year at this time, we had a community that was fractured in a way that most of us in curling never really expected. We're used to a sport that's collegial and welcoming, and we had a lot of divisions. And there were good reasons for some of them. But I think if we look ahead, highlights, we go to this year. Well, actually here, let's go to here, sorry. If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging, right? That's something I told myself a few times. So what did we do this past year? We go to this next slide. So what did we do to get ourselves out of this hole? There we go. We started by showing up. For years, not just shortly prior to my time, this organization didn't show up enough. And we have staff and teams and directors and athletes at events, at clubs, at championships, and that's going to continue. So we started by showing up. We also communicated. As Brett said, we really worked pretty hard this year. I always say to my staff that we will stop sending emails when people tell us they get too many emails from USA Curling. And I think we're a ways away from that. We're going to continue to send messages, communicate as much as we can. So we showed up, we communicated, and we owned our mistakes. I think that was even evident tonight. We will own up to mistakes now, and we're going to continue to do that. At the same time, we're trying to make fewer mistakes, and we'll continue to do that. But when we do make mistakes, we'll own them. And we listened. One of the things that Brett kindly said about me, he said I was a delight, which I'm not ever sure I've been described as a delight, but I'll take it at the moment. But we did listen. And we can agree to disagree at times on certain issues, but I pledge to you that we'll always continue to listen. And this is interesting. I found in this job that the more I asked people to do for the organization, even free things, not paying people, the more I asked people to do, the more connected they were to it. And that happened with working groups. Dick Dawson over there, who I asked to be secretary and just has been a tireless worker as a secretary. The more we ask people to do, we realize the more connected you are to our organization. And we're going to continue to do that. We have a number of great working groups that are doing real positive change. And I would invite anybody, if you have ideas to improve USA Curling, please talk to us about them. Step into the arena. We invite you in. And we know it will only connect you more to our organization. And the last thing we did, we made a pledge that sometimes we'd have to build a plane in the air. And we're trying to move pretty quickly on a number of things. And that's what that means. And we like to plan a lot of things as much as we can, but we tried to move pretty quickly this past year. And I appreciate our staff and how they moved. Highlights from the last year. I said a lot in town halls this year. I said, never miss the opportunity. It is a crisis. So we had a crisis, but I think we got a lot done this last year. If we think about what happened, we had the Governance 4.0 committee, and Brett mentioned them. Mark Beyer led that committee, and 14 people on a committee met an awful lot. Brett and I were ex officio members of that committee. We did mostly listening, but they did a lot of great work towards this new membership model. They surveyed people. They took, quite frankly, criticism at times, and they carried on. So really good work by them. We revamped our athlete health and safety protocols. We brought on Craig Perry here as our chief operating officer. He's now responsible for those efforts. and he has a background in sports administration that is serving us well. We had successful national championships last year. One of the things we've decided as an organization is that we will make every national championship, or try to. I'm not going to say we'll always pull this off, but we are going to try to make every national championship better than the one last year. And that doesn't matter if it's club nationals, 5 and under, mixed doubles nationals. Every championship is important to the curlers in our community, and trust me, it's important to us. And we want to make those events great. We launched the Our House content platform. If you haven't seen that yet, it's on our website. It's accessible with the USA Curling membership. That's an evolving platform. We hope to see that continue to grow with contributions from members. And then we had a World Mixed Doubles Championship this last year. And, you know, that was pretty great. And let's see the picture for that. But let's give full credit to Corey Dropkin and Corey Teesey and their coach, Kathy Overton Clapham. And let's go to the next one there. Oh, we don't have it. Sorry. I had a really good photo. I don't know where it went. I have a really good photo on my laptop. But Phil Dropkin, really, that was so exciting for us. It was our first world championship since 2003. So when we won the Women's Worlds last. So that was terrific. Other groups, we've had the Arena Club Working Group doing great work led by Jane Sharp. We've had more educational programming. I think our merchandise launch, thanks to curlers who love to buy stuff from us, that's gone well. Curling Stadium with their streaming, they've been a great partner. And thanks to Bill Peskoff and his generous donation, we started the Athlete Outreach Initiative. If you've had athletes at your club, you know how valuable that's been. It's another example of us trying to get more contact with clubs and get our athletes out front. So what now? What do we continue to do going forward? We're going to earn membership. And I think that that's a cultural shift. You know, one of the things in these bylaws is we've done away with compliance rules. We've done away with reinstatement fees. And that's because we want to earn membership from clubs, from individuals, and we're working pretty hard to do that every day. And if we fall short, I invite you to tell us how. Tell us how we've fallen short. Sustained competitive excellence. I want us all to feel connected to our national team program and our elite athletes because, one, they put in a lot of time and effort, and it's important to us. There's real value in being an NGB of the USOPC. And while we are focused on both grassroots and elite level work, those things aren't in my mind, work together. I've often said that no kid, you know, lots of kids picked up a tennis racket because of Serena Williams. So if we have competitive excellence, that's going to help grow our game. And the USOPC, by the way, also demands a lot of an organization. They demand operational excellence, and that's healthy. They also supply us with some grants that help our organization run, not just that don't just fund competitive athletes. Want to develop more revenue streams. We've talked a little bit about the membership revenue and how we're anticipating where that goes. You know, along with developing more membership revenue, we want to make sure that we are working hard as a business to develop other revenue streams. So membership revenue isn't the only most important line item in our budget. So we'll continue to do that. That's sponsorship, donations, and then deliver operational excellence. Colin Huffman said this to me early on. He said, I just want our organization to deliver operational excellence. And we're going to work pretty hard to do that. We are working hard to do that. That doesn't mean we're going to hit the bar everybody wants all the time, but we are going to really try. And when we don't, I hope you'll tell us. And we're going to keep showing up. You're going to see us at events. You're going to see us running town halls. You're going to see meetings like this one. We are going to be out and active in our curling community because we value it and we know how great it can be. And just to wrap here, I want everybody to know that, as Brett noted, this where we went in 1 year wasn't the work of one person or one group. It wasn't just staff or board. It was really this entire curling community. Without the entire curling community stepping up and saying, hey, I care about this sport and I would like this organization to be healthy, we wouldn't be where we are right now. A few things I'd just like to thank, and some of them we've already thanked, but Mark Beyer and his governance committee, Jane Sharper Arena Working Group, the Athlete Health and Safety Working Group, Mike Shalhoub, who you saw in here earlier, he was a part of that. Our dedicated athletes who are out there training and performing and put in a lot of time. Chair and Vice Chair, Brett and Colin, the entire board, Dick Dawson and Mike Shalhoub, who put in countless hours on these bylaws. And as Mike noted, we're humans. There's some mistakes, but I know both Dick and Mike gave up a lot of good summertime at the lake as well to work on this. Alexis Boconfuso, our treasurer, has stepped into that job, done a great job. Our sponsors, Columbia TCO Training House. Columbia, if you're not buying Columbia gear, please go out and buy more. They've been a terrific sponsor through this, stood by us, and we're offering their merchandise now. I want to thank our host clubs who hosted championships last year. We were as many people know, we were in a bind on a lot of championships. Kalamazoo, for instance, stepped up to host the mixed doubles nationals. I phoned them the first week in November, and they stepped up. So anybody who stepped up last year, we have a good announcement tomorrow on the senior nationals for next year. We're working really hard to get sites for 25 and 26 and get well ahead of that. And then the last two people I'd like to thank are two people leaving the board. Terry Gleason will be exiting the board after Sunday. Terry served this board with distinction, with energy, and just a lot of enthusiasm and good counsel. So I thank Terry for her time on the board. And Daryl Horseman, who will be leaving the board. Daryl from Phoenix will be leaving the board after this meeting. And Daryl, he showed up all the time. He showed up to everything and took slings and arrows and was never afraid to step in and talk about what was happening. So to Daryl, thank you for your service to the board as well. And with that, I'm really looking forward to this traditional curling season we have coming up and the championships on our agenda. And I want to thank again everybody in the curling community for your support and your passion over this last year.
So Dean stole my thunder. I was going to thank Terry and Daryl as my last thing before I adjourned. So thanks a lot. No, thank you, Terry. Really appreciate everything that you've done. And especially your spirit. I'm going to miss that on the board without any doubt. Yeah. I saw it. Yeah. So just want to acknowledge Dwayne. Thank you. We hadn't heard, but want to recognize what Dwayne said in the chat that Bud Somerville passed away today at the age of 86, and Seppo Suominen also passed away this year. And we really hearts go out to both their families. We appreciate not only them but their contribution to the curling community. And everything they did for us. So if we could, if no one minds, we'll take a moment of silence to remember Bud and Seppo. Thank you, everyone. Is there any other business to come before the members' meeting? Well, I promised Nick Myers I would break the record of last year, so we've got a couple more hours to go. Is everyone ready to go? Okay, I guess not. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Made by Lisa.
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.
With unanimous consent, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.